Okay, we are live, Joe.
All right, thanks. Hey, hi guys. Thanks again. Welcome you all to our series of the software monetization seminar, the webinars, and we try our best all the time to share what is new in the market and what kind of discussion regarding about this subject. So again, I'm Joe from Matrix Invent. We are the partners for Thales Sentinel across the region for ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand, and some part of Hong Kong as well. Yeah. So today we're going to recap a bit before we go in detail to talk about what is hybridization, which is a lot of people talking about these days. So they used to talk about, the subject of whether everything is going to move to SaaS, cloud, and today, the realities can be only you have to achieve is only hybridization because it's going to be a little bit of everything, and how it's going to be incorporated into your business strategy in order to really maximize, the value of your IP. So again, we put this title on here is that software is equal to money because why? We always think software is money. It is all, the intellectual properties across here that you build by your software vendors to the customer, and that's all. It is money to any business. So why would we always talk about software monetization? The concept is always go back to very the simple term. Why do you want to discuss about this subject? Software monetization basically, when we interview a lot of, our customers and even survey by many big events in the market, we all talk about, because the customer intend to make more money. So very important to make more money. 75%. So what is software monetization basically? Everything is going to be software related, whether you like it or not. If you look at the trend of today, so eventually, no matter all the equipment that you use, from various industry to even a port, to clear the ports with AI accuracy, to buy something, from the food supply chain, to be healthcare, playing yogas, practicing yoga and practicing, like any martial art. So everything is going to be software related. Okay, it is kind of intellectual property, be it the algorithms, be it the codings, programmings. It can be also the content that you put inside. The software to be really like rent out as your IP. Okay, it can enhance or create a revenue stream because you're talking about when these all are so important, it is becoming part of the things that it is every year you got to sell the software to become your revenue of your business. And it's going to be a continuous process. It's not going to be 1 day, 2 days. I guess it's just like marketing, the conventional marketing is going to be many, decade and years to go. So every time you got some new product, every time you got a new market segment, you got to continue the process again and again. Okay. So it's like a various business model. If you look at it, it's like how do you actually able to package your software to sell it in a different way. Used to be perpetual, a project basis, and these days are very popular as a time subscription. You can sell 12 months, 24 months, and I think more and more is coming into the discussion of how can you make it become a usage base that pay as you use, which is something that the expectation is changing time to time. On most importantly, eventually for the entire software monetization, though people are talking about making more money, the importance also is to how you protect your asset and then before you repackage it and sell it. So that's software monetization in general. Yeah. But what is the driving factors? So we talk about why it is so important. You talk about IP. So again, I always use the word saying whether you like it or not, because software spending skyrocketing with enterprise software. You're talking about few hundred billions, and you talk about emerging, uh, growing technology. We see the terms of IoT, megatronics, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, big data, and many more keep coming on that. So these all are somehow is software driven. So it's become a driving factor. Whether again you like it or not, that's the reality of we are moving towards that situation. Yeah. So all the businesses will be somehow software related. So in a way, I mean, we also think about one of the another very important driving factors that we agreed to BSA, the extensive software privacy. So whether it's intentional or unintentional, intentional means that someone really copy your software and use it without your knowledge. That become the revenue loss of your business. And sometimes can be unintentional because some of the corporate customers, or even you're talking about government segment, the ticket, they use it, they without even record it, because there may not be a lot of proper software asset or license management department in an organization. And because of that, so you lost your revenue. But at the same time, if the customer did not actually pay for it, and then they may subject to hackers to hack them and malicious activity, and create a lot of problems for the organization. So these all actually are very, very I would say important and solid driving factors, perhaps even more, okay, that we didn't show here. And that give rise to the software monetization tool. I mean, what is the tool? A tool by default, you're talking about, when you have a code, it's a process. You put your code inside the tools, and it come out to be protected and to be also packaged in a way that you want to sell, how you want to sell. That's software monetization tools. Okay, so you have the brand like Sentinel, which is what we represent. Then you have Riverrunner. Okay, I mean, one of the well-known, another key market players in the market. So you got Weibo. So you got even quite a number, growing, I would say, vendors in the market, which all provide different values, to the customer as an alternative option. Yeah. So there's a SLM tool, we call it. So a tool to achieve the need of software monetization, you provide encryption, obfuscation to the code. Okay. It provide you various licensing model. It provide you the integration capability in a way that you will be able to use the tool to integrate into part of your supply chain. And eventually you achieve automation, because it's going to be a day-to-day, year-to-year, month-to-month, year-to-year event in the future. So if you have this tool to be integrated, you achieve kind of I would say the industrial automation is what you call automation, to make it much more efficient in your process, save costs, reduce error, and much more better customer service. Yeah. So it provides also continuous R&D, the tools itself, because you're talking about these days, things are changing so fast. Technology, no matter platform OS, are changing so fast. So this also become a key thing for many software vendors to talk about, how am I going to adapt to it? So keep changing. Are you able to really focus into your own software instead, by spending a lot of resource into these all other things? So the expectation of this industry is going to be double digit. I would say minimum 10% to from 218 to 25 is estimated around almost around 718 millions. And honestly, I think it's going to be grow further. That's my personal view. It's going to be very, very aggressive in the future. Okay, but of course, it's going to be homegrown and commercial. So homegrown is that any software vendor, when you're writing a software and sell your software in the market, so very natural, you will first develop your own self to control the user, how many user the customer purchase, and what can they do about your software and stuff like that. But again, eventually, time after time, you will start to find that, there's a lot of resource, a lot of things that you need to spend on top of to you developing your own specialization of your software, and why you need to spend so much time on all this stuff. In order to make it work. Yeah. So that's why we call it in short form the SLM tool driven out. It's very aggressive now in the market as an option to many software vendors. So part of the strategy is that we discuss it before all the time. Just to a short repeat, why people want to use software monetization as the business strategy, because it's going to increase your revenue, how you make more money from there, understand the market segment, position your software, and then to work out right pricing and right options for your end customer. Then keep growing your revenue from there. Okay. Then you talk about leak revenue, like we talk about the BSA case. If you can discover and proper control about your software, do not allow people to keep on using it without your knowledge, then you actually may have to recover a lot even more. The revenue, which is even sometimes unaware by your own self. Okay, even to the customer, because unintentional use of your software. Yeah. And most importantly, we just mentioned about it, operational efficiency, how you make things even better when you do the entire software monetization process, from people buying your software, you are giving them a license, you are giving them the update and patches, and then you are renewing, they are upgrading with new features. All these are becoming part of most software vendor very routine process in the company. So if you can automate it, you make yourself even much more smart organization to really specialize on what you're supposed to do. Yeah. So that's the business strategy we're talking about. So we all understand, any software vendor, to make yourself success is always how you're going to sell it. To create value. To your end customer, from your software vendors or device vendors. Then you may be going to direct, to sell via a team, or maybe even e-portal to sell your software. And it can be also via a very huge group of different distributors around the world. So very much depends on your business model, and eventually how you deliver the right value to your customers. So that's important. Okay. So revenue stream, but how that's the things that you want to create value. So you start to think about what SLM can help you actually. Basically, it gives you the flexibility, agility to create flexible package. So just imagine last time when the sales and marketing and say that, hey, can we have a new pricing model to have module A, B, C combined together instead of module A, B, C, D, E? So to make it much more like a light version to attack a different market segment. So every time you're going to be hard coding. And every time you go back to the technical departments, and it may take times. So it reduces the time to the market for the marketing to attack certain segment. So flexible and agility is very important if you want to really faster to attack the market and improve your revenue stream. Yeah. And then we talk about whether you allow people to try and buy. So it's very important. Sometimes some people, customer will think that, I want to have them trial and, look and feel about your software. So how do I actually do it? And how do you control it specifically? So if they get your software, we are not protected after a certain time, will they be able to reverse engineer your software and then to continue use it or break your code? That's also important. But it's a very balancing thing that you want to let them try, but at the same time, you do not know, whether they will subscribe to your software, and at the same time, they will be also owner to disable or delete your software eventually. So that's also the key things that happening. Check expiration, one after their trial and after their subscription to you, okay? And then how do you renew? So these are revenue streams that how you create revenue, in a way, in for yourself, software vendor, to your customers, to make it much more easier to tell the customer 3 months beforehand that, like the software is going to be expired. So what is the process that you can do it automatically, or you're going to be doing it like you need certain one click or two click, or if certain extent, if a software is not very expensive, you can just do it via a credit card. So these are the key things of how SLM tool able to create revenue stream, tools for the software vendors. Okay, so operation efficiency is talk about how to really make your process even much more smoother. So we talk about people buying a software, and do you have people to going entitle the software for them, or you can make it very easy to straight away deliver the software to them, especially during the pandemic. You're not going to see the customer. Logistics is going to be a terrible thing to think about it. So when people buy your software, can you actually deliver the software automatic to them via email or link, and then they can download, and they can remote activate for you, by the customer. Make it very easy, not to think about too many steps, one click, or two click, or a few steps away, the customer can register themselves. They can do their online updates if they are still within your software care plan. If you have a plan on that, with how do you actually check and allow them to do it, even the self-service by themselves. And again, can it be actually integrated to your back office, like your ERP, your accounting software, so that everything become all integrated, from payment, bill payment, until the delivery of software, update the patches, renewal, and eventually even update your ERP system. That make the things like, if you can be partly or even fully automated, imagine your entire resource should be much more efficient, and how much cost that you can save and make yourself much more competitive and profitable. Yeah. And we talk about customer satisfaction. These days, it's again, the trend is changing. So customer no longer like to talk to you all the time in some basic thing, because if every time I need to call you, I may say, hey, Joe, I'm thinking about how I'm going to do this, to update the patches, and why this driver is not working. Can you help me to download something? Or even if I want to renew, should I talk to someone, give you a call, but no one pick up the call? And can you make the process that I can do myself self-service even better? So this is one of the key things that you can also think about. If you can make it into a self-service portal for your customer, you basically actually will increase the satisfaction in a way. So that's how Thales Sentinel conduct an internal interview to its customer and say, hey, that's important. That's one of the key things that the customer are changing. So the relationship changing. It's not to say they don't want to speak to you. It's like everyone will focus on what's supposed to be important. And if something, the small step, everyone do want to be in queue, what can you just help me a few steps to move away? Auto update, if you can, without my knowledge, you can just help me to update if I'm eligible for it, just like the Windows update. Okay, it can be instant delivery. How it can be, if I subscribe, we can straight away put the software copy in front of me. Yeah, in-app notification. How can I actually also get something about, that you can notify me what is going on? How if I'm connected, how much thing you can actually allow me to away of your value towards the customer. So that's getting very important in the software monetization process. And eventually, this is a key thing these days to talk about big data. You talk about big data, about retail data of your customer data. And it can be also in a way how the software vendor will know if the software are used likened by their customers. Do they like to use your module? Do they like to use certain features? Or do they don't like something? Do they untouch certain module? So basically, if you give you a handful information, what you're going to do next to the software development, you very normal. We got version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that enhancement be sort of bug fix. So how can you actually maximize and make your module that most welcome even better, so you can charge more? But at the same time, how can you make something module that people don't want to use? Do you want to stop investment, or do you want to actually even do it better again and change the module functionality again? So that also become a key things now to talk about: monitoring the activation, track the entitlements, access version of data, track renewals. You can have all insight about your customer. Then because it's so important, it's going to be the important revenue stream and process of a company. So how can you do not have a handful information about all this, and in order for you to develop and deliver even much more higher value to your customer? Again, end of the day, to improve the revenue stream. Okay. So what kind of licensing and business model guide? Frontier 206, is already stated that, this is a very good piece of information even back then, decades ago. So you have packaged software, people that, from the conventional way that they sell you out-of-the-box software with a CD, single users, like the Microsoft Office at the time. Then you got a perpetual model, that how you sell the software, and then you charge a specific maintenance fee every year. Then the customer will come back to you to get the update and support. You got feature based, which is now getting popular as well. So you may got my software, but you do not want to buy all the features, and you want to buy certain features of it. That's fair, because just like the highway, pay as you use. If I don't cross the highway, why I need to pay for the money? So that's customer expectations are changing. The customer is becoming much more intelligent, much more, able to bargain with the vendors. So these are the market change forces these days. Yeah. And then you got a processor base. Well, why is because, you got core, you got these days, the processor, you got multi-core, you got processors. Because every time you put in a software, for example, if the software is able to use multi-processor, so you do not need a second server and third server and fourth server license. And that actually may hurt your pricing model. But you can also price it by processor to ensure that the customer is using it correctly. They will still pay for what they're supposed to pay if they intend to boost up the performance, and one server to handle all their, the problems. So that become a processor. But these days we're talking about core, because one processor can have even multiple core. So things are keep evolving. Yeah. And then you got network and concurrent license. So in a way, to a certain extent, some environment may say that, hey, I got these customers. So our business model is like I provide them a server, client server environment, but I want to charge them fairly. It's only when how many users we use it at one time. Some are by name user, okay. Some are by concurrent user. That's all depend, okay. And you're talking about even sometimes even a network user, how you can even allow them to flirt out. It's getting a lot of requirement this day, and especially in the mining, military, I mean, even you're talking about agriculture. So those engineers, sometimes they come to office and work and then they have to be off to the field, just like even oil and gas. So when they're off to the field, they take a rugged, machine with them to move over to the site. And these are the things that they want to check out to a site that without an internet. Now, how do we ensure that this software will be checked out properly and still within the control, both within for the software vendor or for the end customer? Because the end customer doesn't want the important information to be leaked out, to take out, and people can access to the system unauthorized. And the software vendor also do not want to have that kind of like leak revenue. So when they check out, and do you actually limit them to check back within a specific day? So these are key things that we talk about: flirting license and even time flirting license, and allow them to destroy and stop the software if given a certain date they are not coming back. So that's getting much more advanced these days in terms of licensing package. Yeah, subscription, very basic. I think more and more people are talking about that. We talk about I think typically you have 12 months, 24 months, but we do see some customer to request because of their software, especially event software. They're managing some events. They may say that, hey Joe, my business model is a bit different. We want something to be able to 3 months, 6 months, or sometimes can be 1 month. Why? Because simply some customer are very seasoning. So they will say that I just want to use it for that particular time. Can you do so? If you do not able to do so, they rather ask someone to write a software that can accommodate it, because they don't want to invest, or maybe they don't have the kind of like the importance to invest into this kind of like full flash of the timing software. So they just want 1 month or 2 months. Can you accommodate? And at the same time, will your technical department able to deliver these things on time to the market? So that's also important. You got utility pay-per-use, as we just mentioned. To these days, more and more, software vendors are incorporating this thing into certain light user and say, okay, I'm going to buy 1,000 times from you. Every time if I use it, or by transaction, or by click, or by enter, so you charge me. Can be prepaid, can be postpaid. That's all depends. So it's getting a lot of like traction and becoming one of the key offering in the market as well. And we talk about KPI. KPI is even much more, enhanced these days. So from Sentinel talking about, in many consulting thing, environment and the business. So you're talking about how you can make sure that you will be able to, like charge only based on what you're going to be achieved, no longer by the software. So that also becoming one of the interesting model, especially in the consultative world. Yeah. So the licensing business model is a lot. You can think about it. This is just only the basic, but you can combine. You can create combined licensing, custom licensing. There's a lot of things that now these days, if you think about without the SLM tool, how can it actually help you to achieve that with ACE? Really easy steps to do so. Yeah. So the key usefulness of this kind of tools is like, very agile, very agile for you to do the licensing. So we talk about it can provide you a tools, in a way, if you're a tech guy, software vendor, the API. How can you have all this API or even connect to make yourself ready to put the tools inside and incorporate into the process and make it automated, save cost, very simple. And most importantly, besides doing everything, the first and most important step is that if you are talking about software monetization, how can you without a protection? We understand certain software in the market is only doing licensing. Some are only protection, but how can you have the best of both worlds? And that is the key things why Sentinel until today, they are still the market leader. Yeah. Okay. So great ROI for the value of balance sheet. Why I say so is that because if you are a CEO, if you are a sales director, if you are the owners of the company, be it small size company or a large organization, the return of investment is all very important. Even if you are divisional head that responsible for the ROI, return of investment. So we have like a model of the data to just show you, after a particular customer who use, a SLM tool. So across a time of, like, say, for example, 5 years, you can see a substantial pattern of how the revenue will be increased due to, because you are able to have different licensing model, you have a flexible marketing package model, and you start to make yourself even flexible to attack into different market segment. Can be even student, version, just like Microsoft, or I like to use the Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Office model. Is because if you look at it, it's very straightforward. I have a student model to make sure the student use it, and next time you use my software in a professional way, but I give them cheaper, so I tap to it. So I got a family model. Then I got, maybe professional model, and I get enterprise model. So all these different model make yourself to have a flexible software to attack into different market segment, much more competitive, and in a way increase the revenue. Yeah. So the cost impact is also very, very important. So we talk about how it can help you to improve revenue, by various licensing model, by you talking about, get back the unauthorized or unintentional usage of your software license. But can it actually also help you in terms of the virtual tangible cost? Yes, it is, because you're talking about, you're supposed to have maybe 5-10 people to doing the writing the homegrown license. But in fact, until today, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I personally do not, because I have been approaching so many software vendors across the region. So that's a good thing about I'm being a partner of Thales Sentinel. I'm in the forefront to discuss with a lot of customers, and we found that many of these customers still have a lot of homegrown initiative on that. But in a way, so to be like I said, the balance sheet warrior. So the cost of tangible is very easy to look into it. How many engineers will be required to do so in order to do the same thing like a SLM tool like Thales Sentinel? So even from a basic, very entrance package of a few $1,000s, you can just spend on Thales Sentinel until a few $1,000,000 a solution from Thales Sentinel. So everything is go back to tangible cost. And why you need to develop it if you can buy it? And because this thing is not your focus. So being said, so is it something that you want to become a Thales Sentinel? You wouldn't, because you want to specialize in your software, oil and gas, mining, healthcare products. So you're not going to do it. So this license generation, licensing support, engineering, back office IT, all these are tangible costs, which eventually will drive you away and will pull you down in long run and make you even harder to go. And why you just don't want to spend time 1 month, straight away, clear all this hard hustle, and eventually you are free to go and attack to the even bigger market. That's a very important message I think I would like to share. So the key thing of many adoption problem, if you cannot see the cost impact of developing this by yourself. Yeah. So then again, that's the juice of today. We talk about hybridization. Okay, we still have time on that. Hybridization. So hybridization as a strategy. Well, we talk about business improve revenue, and what is hybridization in a way? You may think so, So hybrid cars, we talk about a lot of hybrid cars, hybrid energies, but what is hybridization in software monetization? So it's multi-channels. I would say one thing is multi-channel. Again, uh, any of your software vendors, no matter in what industry, you are extending your software to mobile. So again, the likelihood is whether you like it or not. So the customer would like to have a mobile version to access to the information. We have customers to talk about, I want this, my and the customer will be able to go to the coffee shop having a tea, and then they can take up an iPad and iPhone straight away to look into what is happening into the factory and the plant. That's mobile extension. Yeah. So you want to have people off the field to sell credit card for the banks. That's mobile extension. So you talk about desktop, which is very usual and standalone. Like why it is still day to day is because a lot of industry may be sensitive. Maybe there's no network. At the site, it can be also military due to the software that is very sensitive. You have to be cut off from the outside world. Can be also financial. So these all are things that will still remain desktop and standalone machine very heavily in the market. It cannot go away. So we used to think it may be go away by software as a service. It cannot. It's for sure you cannot, because there are certain industry will still need things to be within connected or even off the network as well. So you got embedded, like mechatronics, healthcare, operating industry. We have even customer to talk about producing a wheelchair. how can this wheelchair be actually have an embedded software to control the speed of it. So today's maybe you talk about scooter, e-scooter. There's a lot of things that you talk about embedded. To embedded even to some of our customer who have a precision cutting machine to cut about the metal, the mobile phone casing, the form. So there's a lot of things actually these days are controlled by embedded software, even the robotic arms, we're talking about. So these all are software again, multi-channel. So you talk about IoT, industrial IoT. From IoT now to industrial IoT. So all these things are sensors rising, in the market. So they also controlled by a software or platform in a way. So by different format or whatever. It's all software related. And these all are new channels. And you got network, multi-concurrent users control. Like I just show you the example of floating check-out, check-in license, And of course, again, we go back to talk about SaaS and cloud. So these all are multi-channel. So how, if your software is going to be survive and growth in the industry, you're going to take care of all these channels in the future. Again, whether you like it or not. So for these things, how are you going to do it if you are going to do yourself? To handle all this channel, it's going to be a headache, right? Your resources, the cost of resources, how do you manage it? In time to the market. So we talk about platform and programming language they're going to use. From version 1 you may use C++, then you want to use Java, then you got Python, you got PHP. Things are evolving again, whether you like it or not. Sorry to use this word so all the time. And then you got operating system. So you got a Mac, my iOS, Android, Linux, Windows, until custom for the IoT devices. So when we talk about those like the Android, for example, version 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 10, 11, 12, even iOS keep moving. So will it impact your licensing model and how you control the license in this platform? Again, become a very, very huge challenge in the industry as well. Yeah. So new customer expectation that we say that, customer today are not stupid at all. They're getting much more, like intelligent. They can compare prices, anytime. They can get, the journey much more able to look at what's happening in the market. They can look into what is your competitors doing. There's so many things to do that. The new customer especially will say that, hey, why I need to pay extra money to you if I'm not going to use it? That's why subscription come into space to give people much more easy to entrance. But again, that can be also feature, because if I don't want to use, like I said, don't want to use a lot of your stuff, why I want to pay for it? And eventually there may be certain customers and say, hey, can I just use 500 times? Then I have to close off my business already, because this is just only a one-time business. But we will be able to tap into that revenue. So by doing nothing, I'm not talking about you need to spend a lot of resources to change your coding. So you can just like a telco these days. They will offer you 40 gig, 50 gig unlimited data, call worldwide free. So during Christmas, give you another package during Valentine. Okay, both of you, the couple can talk nonstop in years, whatever. So can you offer that with ACE again, if without, the tools? So the customer expectation is changing. Are you going to face that as well? So this is a very important aspect for it. Yeah. Post-pandemic, we talk about new normal. The customers talk about SaaS. The SaaS and the cloud-based solution are moving faster than ever before. But again, is it going to be replacing all? No. Like we say, that's why the term of hybridization, because you have different industry, different needs, different government policy. You are actually having things that you still have to get the software in certain shape, maintaining it in the different way, multi-channel, multi-platform. Yeah, but it will be faster. But again, can this cloud to be really a cloud just for your software purely on cloud, or it can be just only sitting your software licensing manager on the cloud, and then you can take a control of the on-prem software? That also a hybridization model these days. So things are getting a very different way. After the post-pandemic of this 100 years, a century issue on that, I believe the game plan, the speed of changing are becoming much more faster, and the adoption may be even faster as well for the customer expectation. Yeah, and well, this is a rare thing that I would like to put into my slides. Picture by wallstreet.com. Inflation. Well, we talk about inflation. Why? before even anything happened as of today, that we understand there's a conflict in between a war in between Russia and Ukraine, or and the pandemic actually caused a lot of countries printed a lot of money. So the money printed has never been that much before. And how are you going to pay for it? Money is getting smaller. And why is it so important? So hybridization, you got multi-channels, multi-platform. Again, it's linked back to the cost to maintain become super high. So how are you going to get? I mean, I believe all the software vendor now, if you are joining this session, we understand how difficult to get resources these days in the market. Things are changing. I mean, in a capitalist world, I mean, those quality programmer or whatever things, they will try to move into a situation or a place where it's much more big, better income for them. Okay, in a way. So how about you in this region? Will you be able to pay as high to compete in the market? And again, because of inflation, how do you deal with this kind of like problems if you need to maintain such a big changes and the cost of maintenance and development of your software? That's very important. Hybridization is also linked to inflation. Yeah, and believe it or not, today you talk about governmental and political issue. Well, again, you may say it's sidetrack. Yeah, in a way. But if you look at it today, I mean, if you are software vendors, will be imagine that sometime the government sanctions in between countries, the trade wars, they will allow some software vendor can sell the whole software, or may can sell certain part of the software to the customer. So do you want to completely exit certain market? Or you want to have a flexibility to ensure that the features of sensitive module will not be able to comprise to your government, but same export to the another market. That's important. Yeah, we talk about I mean, like political issues. I mean, sometimes to very sensitive, scientific software, or even now telco software. So many things. So that become also a key things of we talk about hybridization. It's no longer just only multi-channel, multi-platform. We talk about the cost of the conventional ways of dealing with it, the change of the business model and the environment, and it's forcing so many different vendors, to really relook into the need of a SLM tool to help you to grow from there. Yeah. So just a snapshot about this software. I mean, like the software architecture is supposed to be. If you look at it, I mean, we kind of like to always stress that you need a process. So you have a process of purchase order, you have a process of manufacturing, you have a process of ISO in certain thing. Somehow I feel that there is not a specific process as of now to talk about software monetization yet. So if you do not have that process, and how do you able to view and how do you be able to improve it in your operation? Because when you're dealing with everything is going to be software, and your revenue is so important to rely on software sales, and do you have kind of integration, I mean, like architecture, and how to make your process even much more streamlined? This is what it look like. So the ideally, if you have tools, if you help you to do ERM, CRM integration, when people sell, come back, update back end, download automatically. If we are doing e-commerce or e-delivery, billing, if you're talking about money billing or transaction, every time how much they use, you bill them. So you're managing customer, you're managing a lot of I mean, distributor. So you got homegrown before. How do you actually incorporate back into new one? You want to use Thales Sentinel software in a way, So you got software application, you got on-prime, you got robotics, mechatronics, intelligent device. You got, I mean, like restricted footprint of certain machine. How do you want to lock, I mean, the footprint of certain user access to your software, mobile device? These all are the key things that you're going to, think about it these days. Process and hybridization architecture. Again, whether you like it or not. So the more that you much more enhance, the more that you do better, you have much more competitive edge into moving into the future of the new economy. I would say part like the new economy these days. Yeah. So going back into what we can help in a way in the hybridization. So in Thales Sentinel, we actually offer HL and SL. In fact, in basic. So of course we have a lot of other software portfolio on that. HL and software. I mean, HL and software is just only talk about hardware dongles and software dongles. So we used to see a lot of hardware dongles. In fact, this is something that traces back into 20, 30 years ago. When I start into this business, I look into what is dongle. basically dongle is something like designed for the industry, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong. So I keep on looking for a few sources. It said dongle is this to protect the software. So the dongle from last time used to be a serial port, a parallel port, and today it's developing into USB devices. And from just a basic USB, it can come out now with a lot of even advanced USB, smaller size, to put in like a time external battery, for the device, to ensure that people don't tamper your clock. So it can be also put on top of the motherboard. So the chip base, they can incorporate it into the motherboard. There's so many ways of hardware dongle these days. Okay, is it really obsoleted? No, it is still maintained. That's why hybridization, because there are some environments still require a hardware dongle. Okay, so in a way, you talk about. What one of the example would be more putting like a SD card into it. We have some consulting thing, educational, or maybe even simulation customer who say that I need to protect the content. But if the customer is going to buy from me, sometimes you're talking about 10, 20 gig, 50 gigs, of the kind of data, or 100 gig. How can you download from there? It's not everywhere. It's so easy to download. So this day, the SD card can be also incorporated into the device itself. You see 8 gig here. In fact, now we tested even 64 gig and 128 is possible to use as well. To put into the chip, deliver to the customer, be it to protect your software and also the content inside videos, files, that can be all protected. So these are the key things of advanced hardware dongle, how to use in a hybridization environment. Yeah. So because you never think about why, if there is a situation, you can even potentially educational to send some articles or even past papers to the student who pay for you. So that's also one of the key things to coming. Yeah. And you have a software keys. Software keys is very, very normal these days. Why software keys? No delivery. Okay. So, but in fact, no delivery logistics is one of the key things. And potentially, you can also to talk about one of the key features of lock the footprint. Why? So you're talking about how the customer today use the PC when you want to put in the software. What if they reinstall into other software? Can they do that? Can you just log into the hardware? Any change of the CPU, hard disk MAC address, you will disable the whole software. You can do so. And we have many industrial customers today talking to us, in AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, and say, hey Joe, the biggest problem that we have today is dealing with virtual machine, because the customer buy one piece of the software and they can use virtual machine to keep on copy and use it elsewhere. So that is also a key thing that in this industry, how software monetization process will be able to protect it. So we actually go detail in terms of locking the virtual ID, so that whenever they change the virtual ID, they will be also voided as well. So this is something the key thing of the software license development. But again, does it really suit all? No. The preferably is software license, but some industry may still require a hardware dongle if they want to have a sharing. But some industry is moving completely to software licensing. So that is very, very depending on your business model. So you may want to do online activation for your customers in a way. I think it's getting much more like consistent these days, because we are talking about how can you immediately regenerate or generate a license for me and title. How can you regenerate a license for me? So we have use case before to talk about the point of sales. When the customer say that, hey Joe, during weekend, we are not working through Saturday and Sunday, okay, but my customer restaurant is working on Saturday and Sunday. But if the PC is failed, they want to immediately put it up. How can they actually immediately regenerate a license and we can authenticate it? Whereas if not, the entire Saturday and Sunday they have to use logbook to log all the transaction. So how can you do so? So with online activation and regeneration, you can solve the issue. Yeah. And you have even talk about offline environment. So they may say, hey, Joe, this oil and gas customer, I can't actually even get them to connect. So how do I actually ensure that even they're based on subscription? How do you actually activate? And at the same time, you're able to renew the license with ease. So with this concept of customer to vendor and vendor to customers, the changing of certain files, and the footprint files actually will also allow you, the customer, to be easy to to renew without the internet connection. They can by sending your file You can update and send back them. They can use the same file, upload the file into a certain folder, and that's it. It works. So and become very, very easy for renewal process as well. Yeah. And you have I mean like today hardware keys, software keys. You're talking about even the cloud keys. So cloud keys. I mean the cloud is talking about very important that still on prime. So how do you actually ensure that the customer will be able to you take back the control? That I mean to tell the customer, hey, I want to be able to revoke the license when they are not paying something. Do you able to do so? I mean by revoking, completely take back all the function, the control of the software. So that is one of the key things that people are discussing: hybridization, cloud, and I are managing the on-prem software. And but at the same time, because of the after pandemic, a lot of the customer may want to prefer to use the software from home, work from home as well. So I want to use it in the office. I want to use from work from home. But how can you ensure that when working from home, you wouldn't lock my computer, but by authenticating the username, product ID, you just let me to use it. If I got the internet, it's flexible, and that's why to these days are so many different new. I would say the channels are coming in the requirement. So you how a particular SLM tool will be able to cover all these aspects for you are rather important. Because why? You cannot get away from any old days to use dongle. It is still available. You cannot get away people just only using software license. There's a new challenge of people coming just purely onto pure SaaS and embedded software, different OS, different platform, and how we deal with it. That's hybridization. Yeah. So we're talking about Sentinel licensing model that we all these things they can offer to you, how to integrate to your back office, how to do data collection and the data usage report, how to have better customer experience. These are the key things that we talk about beside of hybridization, and we will deal with all these different challenge and how do you actually able to provide all this full suite of software if you are comparing to do it yourself. Okay. And again, like I said, it can be really starting from a few $100 of investment for software monetization to a few million. And if scalable, why not? So if your business is going to be 5 to 10 million and 100 million in the future, will you be happy to paying, I mean, a software vendor who can, SIM tool can help you to generate more revenue for a tiny fee? That's also a key thing that we can have a different thought of it. Yeah. So for Thales Sentinel, we have I mean like components, a lot of components. We talk about HL, we talk about SL. They have actually even more components from there. You have enterprise management software to talk about how to manage even your dealers, let them to have license, to keep at the end. And at the same time, you have a stockage to monitor the license that they sold, I mean, and they activated. And you're talking about even Sentinel up, how can you actually do something? Will you be imagine how to automate even the Windows update? Why? You have all the new patches, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, have a link for them to download. But how do you know that the customer is eligible to do the update? So you have a database on it, yeah, and that's how you talk about you have a full portfolio. If you're going for a Windows which is ready in the market, when your business grow, things grow again, yeah. But of course, I mean, you have other things like we have other portfolio like RMS software for the enterprise ready, I mean, customers. And then you talk about Sentinel Fit, which is a product you can have an SDK tool to put into your IoT device. Well, that may not be happen to many software vendors because this is more into like certain vendors who are manufacturing the IoT device. Most of the time, because you need to have a very light footprint, so you custom the OS inside to have using less energy. And with that, but again, how do you control if you want to make full control on the licensing of the device? Okay, so in this sense, so Sentinel will provide them the SDK tool to really load it inside with a very, very light version, perhaps even a few KB or 10 KB or 20 KB. That's done. And that also, we talk about hybridization to fit into different environment, different channel. Okay, a lot of platform, a lot of things, happening. So the last slide I would say is that we got so many things you talk about. I mean, for the past maybe 45 minutes, So how you gonna deal with it? So for Sentinel, we have a lot of range of portfolio from starter kit of LDK. Just start, I mean, kickstart yourself to use it. Very easy, few steps to use it. You can even take a look at the video from the YouTube to use it. and then you got a hardware key, you got a software key, you got a RMS version, which is aimed for much more advanced, like enterprise worldwide global licensing. You got enterprise management software to incorporate like a CRM and help desk, to look into the entire process of your software monetization. Much more API for you to integrate into different back office. Then you got fit for IoT environment, and how do you even control the license for the smart phone like an Android device, and then how do you do pure cloud control, and how do you do software update? These are all the things that add up, that you can have a peace of mind if you're looking into a reasonable tools that offering in the market. So that's why hybridization, you have no choice. It's a world that you have to move on. All software vendor is going to attack. And now is how do you make sure these things are in good hands and you're in good place. Look for the right tools and help you to grow and to solve your hybridization strategy. Okay. Well, that's all for my today session. About 45 minutes. So my email is here. If you got anything that you want to share with me, and we can learn together. And we have a specialized portal that always updating what is development of software monetization in the world. So we have this domain, www.software-monetization.com. You can visit there, put us some comment if you need help, in this region. If you need help in other region, we will also get our partners to help you together as well. Well, I'm trying to see if any question, if a question I will, you can type on the chat side.
No question at the moment from the floor.
All right. Sorry, because when I share the screen, I can't see any.
It's okay.
Okay. So thanks, Yong. So thanks a lot, for your time. I think you can drop us any message if you wanted to. Again, we will share again, and to understand the hybridization as one of the key strategy for your business model. Yep. Thanks a lot.